Hey there, folks, and welcome to another episode of Crit Hit Interviews. I'm your host, Arlyeon, and we're here today with Daniel Carmichael of Fika Productions, the lead game developer for the recently released roguelite Ship of Fools.
Hey guys, hey Arlyeon. Thanks for having me. I'm really glad to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Before we get into the nitty-gritty on all the questions I have about the game, and there are so many questions I have about the game, a big part of what I like to do to start these off is to ask about the people behind the game, to find out a bit more about what led them down their journey as an indie game dev. So, to start things off, I guess the simple thing would be just tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Daniel. I'm 28 years old, and I'm from Quebec City. I'm a co-founder of Fika Productions, and I am the lead gameplay developer on Ship of Fools. I studied software engineering at university, and I'm a big gamer. I played games all my life, and actually just received my new gaming PC.
I still need to get a new gaming PC. Mine is literally
I mean-
missing the front vent.
It's a little treat for myself after the release of the game. I decided to give myself a little gift. So yeah.
Which, speaking of that, actually, what is your favorite genre of gaming? Since you said you're like a big gamer, or your favorite game?
Yeah, obviously a big fan of roguelikes. The Binding of Isaac would be my favorite game. I think also Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Those were two big games that stuck with me over the years. And The Binding of Isaac was actually quite a big inspiration for Ship of Fools.
Huh. So, here's actually a question. So, how did that lead to you getting into game development? Is Ship of Fools... I know Fika Productions has done other projects before, but, how did you get into game development?
Yeah, actually, it's quite a story. It tells a lot about my personal life story. If you want to hear it, I'd be glad to tell you. Actually, games have been a big part of my life for many reasons. At the age of 15 years old, my life changed completely after I had this accident that made me paralyzed from the chest down.
Oh.
Yeah, and since then, I live in a wheelchair, and I spent the whole year while I was 15 years old at the hospital and in the rehab, trying to relearn how to live, literally. And that is when I grasped the true magic behind gaming. Yeah, while in the rehab, I was with some roommates and many other children who also had big accidents. One of them was completely burnt, even his face was completely burnt, and one other was his leg were crushed in a snowmobile accident, and we all had our big things going on, and the thing that struck me was, no matter how heavy and life-changing each of our condition was, we were always happy while playing games together. Games made the pain go away and united us in a way that made it possible for each of us to go through the hardships of life with a positive attitude, no matter how hard it looked. And reflecting on that a couple years later, I realized that one day I would love to contribute in making games that bring people together to face the challenge of life. And I hope that's what Ship of Fools will bring at some point for some people.
So
So yeah.
just quick question here, actually. Like, in the case of gaming, did you find it a sort of escapism or more of like a window into things you were wanting to do?
That's a good question. I think um, it was kind of an escape because every of our realities were pretty hard to live with, as you can imagine.
Hmm.
So it's just a really great feeling, like to pick up a controller and for for a moment we're all badasses with guns. We're no longer in a wheelchair. We're no longer burnt. We're no longer dealing with hardships. We're shooting bad guys. So I think that's
So
as
you'd
a
make the argument that it actually had a very healthy, positive influence on you.
oh yeah, definitely. Um, some people would say that games, and especially violent games, will have a negative impact on people. I would argue that I'm not arguing for violent games. I'm just arguing that games in general have a positive impact on people. And I think that the best impact it could have is to bring people together. What changed me is that we were together in our hardships and we were together playing games, and that I was not alone in my room, like playing games, and I was with people, and I made friends.
It was like a very collaborative, communal sort of thing for you.
Yeah, yeah. So it's quite a personal story, and it's personal relationship I have with games in general. And my goal, I think, is to uh, have for some people the opportunity, create the opportunity for some people to get through the hardships of life through games. And yeah.
I mean, that's a noble goal. Okay, so that's sort of the background of this. How did that transition into you learning / getting into game development itself?
Yeah, so after my accident and stuff like that, I went to university in software engineering. That's where I met Antoine and Marc-Antoine. So we really bonded. We were always working together for homeworks and stuff like that. Actually, Antoine was the guy who was paid by the university to move my chair around. So
Oh.
he actually was paid to be my friend. So that was quite fun. We had every classes together, and we really made some great friends. And we knew that at some point in the future we wanted to work together, the three of us. We always had this business sense inside of us, and we participated to some activities like 48 hours to start a business kind of activities throughout our studies. Yeah, so that was quite fun, and we wanted to start something at some point. And, at the end of our degree, we decided to start Fika Productions with the goal in mind to make games. And for that, we also knew that we needed some artists because we were developers and programmers. So we reached out to our friends Etienne and Francis, who were doing their studies in art and animations. And with the five of us, we decided to start our business and see where it would lead us.
So, just like a small tangential question. First off, like what's the origin of your studio's name?
So Fika is actually a Swedish saying that means to to have a coffee break.
Oh,
And yeah,
I
so
agree with this.
yes, and during our studies, Antoine spent a semester in Sweden and came back with the idea of Fika in mind, because in Swedish companies, it's quite a ritual to take the Fika every day and to have a time to stop thinking about work, to bring people together around a coffee or pastries, and also to break hierarchies. So the boss would like have a coffee with the janitor, and
So
it's
it
a time
flattens
where
the hierarchy and just brings everyone together into like a peerage.
yeah, exactly. And that really inspired us because this is what we want as a company who puts people first.
Yeah, no, I really dig that conceptually, and like the fact that you're sort of wearing that on your sleeve.
Yeah, so I think now it's been 4 years that we are starting our 5th years with Fika, and it's not always been as easy as it sounds to put people first and take the Fika, and But I think we've done a pretty good job at creating a family of people who are listened to, and I think we've managed throughout the time to learn a lot in how to build a work environment that's healthy. You know.
So, you've already sort of answered one of my other questions, which is where you cultivated these talents, but what did you start off as your products, as your projects in FICA? Because it didn't quite start out with gaming, as I recall.
Yeah, yeah. So if you saw our website, you've seen that we've done some little side projects in our beginnings. So it's quite a challenge to start a gaming uh, business, to start a game studio, actually, because you don't make any money until either you find a publisher or you release a game. So there's quite a long period of time where it's quite impossible to make any money with by only making games. So we started by doing little contracts here and there in animations and also in mobile development. We were all software engineers, so we could make some websites and mobile applications and things like that. So we've done a lot of small contracts to build up the company, while always having in mind that the big goal is to release a game. So throughout the years, we've built a small team that was working on the game, and as time goes on, more people join that team, and we built Ship of Fools with that team. So in the end of Ship of Fools development, every one of the company was working on Ship of Fools. But in the beginnings, it was only like one or two people, while the other were doing contracts.
That's cool though. So it's like that at the heart of the company was the idea for this game, but you were doing all these things to make sure that you could independently continue to produce it.
Yes, exactly.
So here's my big question then. What was like the large hurdles of being the lead developer across all of these various contracts, across just what was the big hurdle of juggling all of this together?
And it's always a challenge to deal with the resources we had. In the beginning, we had very little resources. We had only a few people, and we were making concepts and game prototypes, and we were pitching those to publishers to see if they were interested and stuff. So it was juggling with I was juggling with pretty much nothing. With ideas and concepts and trying to put up a game together. And actually, when we started making the game, no one in the team had any experience in game dev at all. So I was trying to learn Unity, the engine. Um, Etienne was doing animations, but he did not have any experience in game animation. So we were building our pipeline, our work pipeline to put everything together. So in the beginning, we had very little, but in the end, the challenge was to. We had many resources, but what was lacking was time. And it's always hard to deal with deadlines with the publisher and try to make shortcuts to make sure the game is the best it can be with the time we have. A big struggle for me personally is that on the one hand I lead the dev team, but I'm also part of the game design team. So there's always so much I want to include in the game, but so little time to do it all.
I mean, I've heard that's a reoccurring struggle, and I actually have a question related to that, but I'll tackle that later. For now, I just want to tackle my last fluff question because, okay, so you folks had a collaboration with Deck of Many to make an animated set of spell cards.
Yeah, that was one of our first contract as a company, actually.
So do you folks have like an in-office tabletop D&D group then?
Yeah, at some point we had a D&D game going on with many people of Fika, but currently it just like fizzled out with the pandemic and stuff like that. But it could be really cool to start it up again.
I'm clearly working in the wrong province because they.
Do you have a play group for? Are you a big fan of D&D? And
I'm a big
like
fan
that?
of tabletop in general.
Yeah.
I've done things like Shadow of the Demon Lord, Big Eye Small Mouth, Call of Cthulhu, D&D, and I'm just generally pretty open to trying a lot of these things out. But like, I don't know that many people anymore at the place I'm in because they've all moved away to different segments. I'm just like, okay. So no, the idea of like, a workplace where you have like these nice little coffee breaks where you get to go and sort of rub shoulders with everyone, and it sort of keeps it as like a nice, like, close gathering of people, and then add in like just a little bit of like rolling dice to unwind. No, that sounds great. I wish we had opportunities like that over where I am.
I wish it for you. It's the best. I mean, we really want our company to be a place where people like love to be, not only for their work but with the people and what we actually do. It's kind of a workplace and a life place at the same time. So I'm really proud of what we've accomplished with our company.
It sounds like you've made something that's like to be proud of.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
But yeah, that's all of our little icebreakers and stuff. So I figured now's a good time to start picking your brain over Ship of Fools itself. And if you could just provide like a quick description to the game. I know there's going to be footage of this playing, but I mean...
Yeah, so Ship of Fools is a seafaring cooperative roguelite set in a nautical world where you have to fight waves of enemies on your boat with your cannons and with a friend, because our game is aimed to be played in co-op of 2 players, but is also playable solo.
What was the actual how did the concept for Ship of Fools come to be itself? Because it's pretty specific as an idea.
Yeah. So when we started the brainstorm for our first game, we knew that we wanted to create a multiplayer game that brings people together. So that was the main objective. As a company, we want to bring our employees together and stuff like that. and and it's the same with our products. We want to bring people together. So that was the goal. And we saw that there were many good roguelikes and many good couch co-op games, but not many multiplayer roguelikes that brings the two together. So there was a hole to fill in the market, and we were all like big fans of roguelites. We were like in 2018, um, so this was like the golden age of the roguelikes and the couch co-op games. So there was really a hole to fill in the market, and we wanted to design a mechanic that allowed player to really cooperate in a roguelike. In Ship of Fools, there's no competition between players. There is no I have more kills than you. Even if we're supposed to be together, you know, it's either you win together or you lose
You've
together.
never seen me and Hop play together. He stole my cannon and threw another one right off the boat.
Oh, really?
Yes! Don't
So,
worry, people will find a way to compete even if you don't
yeah,
intend for it.
but the intention is to have as little competition as possible. Um, so the idea behind the boat being the life bar itself remove the possibility of one of the players dying and then had no choice to watch the other one play alone until gets revived, you know?
Yeah, you sink or swim together.
Yes. So we wanted a game that is fully cooperative, a fully cooperative experience instead of two solo experience alongside one of each other, as we see in other roguelikes. For example, I really love Discovering 2, but in this game, when you play a co-op, you're not really cooperating. You're just trying to farm on your own, trying to get more items than your friend and more kills than him. Um, so you can really go along your way alone in these types of games, even if they're branded as co-op roguelikes, you know.
Yeah, no, I get that. Like, there's definitely ways you can collaborate together, but there's also, yeah, like, definitely drops aren't exactly shared.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're fighting for drops, and you're you can basically play solo while like having a co-op game going on. So
So,
that's what we wanted to not go towards.
so conceptually, what was the hardest challenge making Ship of Fools then? At least for what you were trying to achieve.
Yeah. So a big challenge I would say was managing a balance between passion and feasibility. And I'll always be the first to say that I'm not gonna sleep until this feature is over, or I'll overwork and burn myself to make sure that everything I want gets into the game. But in real life, it's not sustainable. It's our first game as a studio, and it's our first game at all for every one of us. So we really wanted to make it count and make it really great. But when you're making a passion project, it's really easy to go overboard and burn yourself. So that was quite a big challenge for us, for many people on the team. And in the future, we'll definitely try to make our games in a more healthy way, and that's the goal of Fika as a whole.
Um, so this is more of a smaller question, but was there anything, whether it was like a game or even a piece of media, that influenced the artistic style you ended up using for the game?
Yeah, so the style is quite nice. I would say Ship of Fools, and definitely was inspired by Don't Starve. We really like the idea of a 3D environment in which to have 2D characters and props. So that was quite an inspiration. Um, and yeah, I don't know if you realized it, but the game is fully 3D. Even though our characters are hand drawn and 2D, the whole environment is 3D, and the engine is running 3D projectiles and stuff like that. But it looks 2D with the art style.
It's really neat, actually. So, I guess that's the visual question. So I'm gonna now sort of switch gears to a bunch of the narrative bits because, okay, so this one actually really got me, but what led to your decision to make the fools... So they are not the best conversationalists per se. They live up to their name. What was the decision behind that?
Yeah, so we wanted to give as little as we could about the background of the fools. There is very little we let the player know about them. The only thing we know is that they are the only creatures fool enough to brave the sea. And that's it. And that's where their personalities come from. So, I will let the mysteries plan on this, and maybe in the future we'll bring more background.
So at
on
the
the
moment,
fools.
though, they're sort of intentionally meant to be blank slates beyond...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's intentional.
Now, a rather noteworthy detail I noticed when I was clearing the game, and then I was like checking around after the fact, was it still has content to come, and it implies more story bits. Is there still a lot more to include on a narrative front, and will this change up the storytelling format that's already been established as so far, such as more town and hub dialogue, or...
Yeah. So on a narrative front, there's not so much that's gonna change in future updates, but there is definitely more to come. Uh, we want to focus on the next updates on mechanics that will improve the challenge and the replayability of the game, and we will, like, include stuff that gives more background to the hub and the lighthouse and stuff like that.
Any words on if we're getting a bestiary?
Oh, that would be cool. That was actually one of the feature that was cut because we didn't have time, but it's still in the backlog. It would be really cool to have this, but we actually put up a wiki today publicly if you're interested to see.
I saw a link to that in the Discord. I hadn't actually clicked it yet, but I saw the wiki link, and I gather then that there's little lore tidbits you guys have sort of snuck in there then.
Yeah. So it's a base that will grow over time, but it's a good start, I think, for our wiki and to give like additional information. There's so much in the game that are mechanically impossible to know that is going to be available.
You mean like how if you throw both your cannons off the ship, you'll just, or sorry, your ammo generator off the ship, you'll get birds constantly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the mechanics that we don't tell players, but is there.
I mean, I wouldn't recommend it to people, but yes, that's a free supply of birds that way.
If you want to have fun, try to make a game, a run of Ship of Fools with no ammo generator and only load birds for the entire run. It's possible. I've made it quite sometimes, and
I mean, the character who automatically loads cannons, I feel, would make that easier too.
yeah. If you take actually, if you take the axolot and you take the double-barreled cannon, and you load 2 seagulls in the double barrel with the axolot, you can do the whole game with only that and no other ammo and you don't even have to reload a single time. It's possible.
Yeah, no, I was just like thinking about it, like, wait, that would work. Yeah, no, dumb mechanics. It'll be good to look at the wiki and see what other dumb mechanics are in there. Which, speaking of mechanically, though, there's a lot of things that myself and other people who've been playing the game are curious about. Specifically, are there more additions due to the hub, such as gaining access to the lighthouse, for instance?
Yeah, so let me just say that there is a locked door at the bottom of the lighthouse, and that might not be for nothing. So we didn't have time actually to complete this portion for the release, but the next step of the game is going into the lighthouse and see what's going on there. So I can't say too much at the moment because nothing has been disclosed yet, but you can expect to at some point be able to enter the lighthouse.
Which actually leads into my next question. What sort of plans do you have insofar as increasing replayability? Currently, if you beat the game, it's generally only going to get easier from there, as you'll be able to farm like the meta resource tentacles to get more bonuses, but there isn't any complicating factors. So what sort of plans do you have for deeper dives into the seas insofar as difficulty, and will there potentially be alternate areas, bosses, or other sort of items to look forward to?
Yeah, so I can't reveal too much for the moment, but we definitely read every reviews and criticism we receive, and the main complaint we have with the game right now is that, as you said, it only gets easier, and the challenge and replayability of the game is quite a bit lacking at the moment. But that's what we are currently working on. The game will definitely get more challenging with future updates, and I will say that I am currently really inspired by how games such as Monster Train and Hades tackled this game design challenge.
Wait, what was the second game you mentioned?
Hades.
I'll ask you to type me that in Discord later, because that one doesn't. Oh, Hades.
Hades, yeah.
It
was quite a bit popular in the latest years.
Wait, so like the heat system, like a modular difficulty?
Yep. I can't disclose too much, but this is really interesting for us. Ship of Fools could really benefit with a kind of a ladder difficulty system that you can turn on or off some things to make the game more challenging.
So escalating difficulty in a sense of like Monster Train, but having modular components to it, like Hades.
Yeah.
Well, that's big.
Actually, I won't reveal anything on how this is going to take place, but this is our big inspiration of the moment.
Does it have to do with the lighthouse?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Maybe.
So here's another question, though. Beyond the modular difficulty, are there actually plans for even an alternate area or boss?
I would say that it would be great, but not for our first update. Maybe in the future. We're really planning to expand the game as much as we can. It all depends with our deal with our editor and how the sales go. So if we have like really great sales and we continue the way we're starting, we definitely want to add more sectors, more fools, more items. So
I was about to ask that actually, is there any new fools currently planned out, or even like a wink towards the mascot you helped work on, Henry, because he would fit right in.
Yeah, so that's quite fun. Henry was one of our first contract with our company, but there's no plan on making it enter the game. Um, we used it for way too long as a showcase on our website, and people ask us question about him a lot. But
He's
currently,
very
our
cute.
yeah, it was for a telemarketing company here in Quebec, and we had to this contract to make a revamp of the mascot and things like that. But currently, our website is being reworked as we speak to better reflect what we are currently doing. I mean, games and not just concept art for our business. So we really want to focus our company on games now that we released our first title and things like that. So our website actually was not updated since 2018 or 2019. So yeah, Henry was there for quite a bit.
Fair enough. So it's still a content question, but what do you feel is the most interesting piece of content that you want to include in Ship of Fools? If it's the modular difficulty, I mean.
Definitely a way to make the game harder and replayable as much as you can. So this is the first key piece that is missing currently in the Ship of Fools. Um, and there's so many items that we didn't have time to include in the game that I want to add.
Can you give us a hint on one of those items?
Uh, give me 1 second. I'll give you one spoiler.
Oh, heck yes. I love spoilers if they aren't story related.
Give me just 1 second. I'm gonna bring up my my game design document that I'm working on. Um, and actually, disclaimer: this might not make it at all into the game.
It's just a theoretical thing that you would like to include.
Yes, it's all theoretical. One thing that I would really like to include in the game is we have these cursed items in Ship of Fools. When you clear a sector, you have access to the cursed caverns where you can.
Yeah, no, I love them. They have some great items in them.
Yeah, so you grab these curse and they take a place on one of your pedestal. You can't remove them until you clear the boss. And so we have these curse items, and I want to add some holy items that are like the curse counterparts that would also take a place on one of your pedestals and give a huge bonus, but would break when you take damage or you reach a certain point in the game. So curse are things you want to lose, but holy items are things you want to keep for as long as you can.
And the cursed items have like that thing of they're a long-term investment of its upfront difficulty for later on being better, and the holy item is upfront making things easier, but then you're down a resource slot later because it took up a slot and then is gone.
Yeah, exactly. So
That's
I
interesting.
won't disclose too much on how you will get these items, and even if they're gonna make it into the game, we'll see what we can do with the time we have. But I would really like to have these kind of mechanics.
Yeah, no, that's actually super neat conceptually, I think.
Also, another kind of item that we want to include is items that gives buff and debuff at the same time. Currently in Ship of Fools, every item is straight up giving you raw bonuses. But we want to add some items that you will have to think before you choose to take it or not. For example, an item that could increase a lot of your fire rate, but decrease a lot of your damage. And we see that a lot in games such as The Binding of Isaac. And there's many items that will ruin your run if you just take them. So I think that that's gonna be a great addition for the later difficulties of the game.
So here's, I guess, another thing then just sort of tied to this, but is there, and we've already touched on this a little bit actually, but is there anything in the game that didn't make it that you really wanted that had to hit the cutting room floor?
Yes, a lot of stuff didn't make it. Uh, in fact, the game had really had a lot of iteration that we just scrapped completely. At some point, the game was a dual screen, where on the one side you would see a top-down view of the boat, in which you could move around your character, and in the other screen there was a top-down view of the sea, where you could see where you're driving, and you could drive the boat and and move it around the.
My ADHD thanks you for not doing this.
Yeah, it was quite a weird, cool but weird idea, and we scrapped it completely and made something else. There is a lot of content that we didn't just have time to do, such as the bestiary, as you mentioned. Also, the thing with the lighthouse, we didn't have time to make it, but we're actually working on it right now to make sure it gets included in the future updates of the game. So yeah, dealing with the deadlines and dealing with how we can make the game as best as it can be with the time and resource we have was the biggest challenge of the project.
So we've mentioned this a few times now, sort of what's in the works, and in prior, I've seen mentions of a roadmap. Do you have any idea over what length of time the roadmap will encompass, and how much different will the game be as you progress further through the goals on that list?
Actually, the roadmap, I can't really say anything about this currently, because it's not done yet. It's not over. We're not settled on a roadmap that we're ready to show.
Fair enough. Do you have is there like a rough timeline for when people can expect to have an idea of like what's coming up?
Expect news on this in early 2023. So we will talk about this a lot in our Discord and publicly at the beginning of next year, to let people know where we are going with this. And now we're pretty much all in a holiday break, so we are gonna get to it when we're back.
So yeah, that's good to know. Now these have been like all of my questions, but before I went into this interview, I also went into the members of the roguelike community on Steam, in Discords, and also on Reddit, just to get some of their thoughts and just the questions they had after their experience with Ship of Fools or what they were looking forward to. And a recurring comment I received was, will there be Steam Deck support?
So actually, we want to add Steam Deck support. It's not currently in the plan, but it is possible at the moment to play Ship of Fools on the Steam Deck with I don't know what's the integration called. Is it Proton or something like that? One of my friends actually played the whole game on its Steam Deck, but it's not natively made for the Steam Deck. It will not be checkmarked on Steam as a Steam Deck compatible. It is in our plan to make it at some point Steam Deck fully compatible.
Okay. So, just sort of extending from that, by the way, though, will there be cross-platform support?
Yeah, this was requested a lot. I don't
I
think we
imagine.
will. I don't think we will do it for the moment.
All right. Here's a big one though. Are there any plans to incorporate workshop support for mods? And also, would that disable achievements?
Yeah, great question. I would really love to include this feature, but it's currently not in the plan. We really want to concentrate on our own content and make the game the challenge we want it to be for the moment. But in the future, this is definitely something we will explore. I can't
All right.
promise anything on that, but it's
Fair
a good
enough on
idea.
that front. Is there any chance for different melee weapons that players might be able to have access to, or even potentially pets, whether just as a cosmetic feature?
Yeah, there was many talks and ideas with the team on a fool that would have another weapon uh, that will have something else rather than the paddle. Maybe a boomerang or maybe a gun. At some point, there was an idea of a fool that its ability would be that he cannot use a cannon, but he had a gun in hands, and he could load his gun with the ammos on deck. So that was a
Oh
pretty
god.
pretty fun idea that didn't make the cut, but it would be really cool to see different kinds of melee builds for the future fools.
Sorry, I just briefly went into like a like flashback of me getting the light paddle, which is one of my favorite relics because it's super dumb.
Yeah, yeah, this is quite fun.
That said,
And also, one funny thing to do with the light paddle, if you have a friend and you shoot your projectiles with your paddle towards your friend, you can actually reflect them with
what?
his reflect attack. Yes, as if it was enemy projectiles. So
Just
one fun way to play the game is to not shoot the cannons and only shoot your partner and kill enemies with reflex. This is possible.
god. Does it do more damage when it's reflected?
Yeah. Actually, when you reflect a projectile, I think it will add a flat 20 damage if it's a crit. No,
Jesus Christ.
it will always add a flat 10, and if you perfect reflect, it will crit, so it will double. So you can do quite a bit of damage while only reflecting projectiles.
Oh my god. So like one of the things I got was the light paddle and the light drill in the same run.
Oh yeah.
And then I just like the only other things I did was I got the artifacts that boosted a ship's health and stuck
Yeah.
that like on there. I maxed out my ship health and then I just let my ship get torn up and the game was done. Wow, just reflecting stuff. That's so dumb. I like it.
I like it when there's many dumb ways to play the game. That makes it so funny. Maybe at some point we'll add like some challenge runs that you start with specific combinations of item that would
Oh,
make
please do.
a different challenge.
I loved that in Monster Train with like the challenge runs they had, and if you did something like that in Ship of Fools, I would 100% get on it on that.
Yeah, I think it would be a great idea.
So,
Can't promise anything though.
oh, I mean, understandably. But speaking of things for improvements, how about to the single player mode or any extensions to the multiplayer, perhaps to include 4 players? And if there was going to be 4 players, would that entail different ships or a larger ship?
Yeah, so the 4-player mode is heavily requested across the board. technically it's possible. It's not a technical limitation, it's a game design limitation that we have at the moment. If we decide to include a four-player mode, we might need to design a new boat and new types of encounters to make the game still interesting. The game was really designed with two players in mind, but we are open to the idea of a mayhem mode or something like that in the future. That would be like a fun, crazy mode. But it will require a lot of tweaking and to keep the game interesting, because we could not say we take our actual boat and put four people on it.
Yeah, that would be really easy at the
Yeah.
current, which is why I asked specifically if it entail a different ship or ship size.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we will need to make another special ship that has more pedestals and more cannons, and craft encounters that are way harder to make sure that it's challenging for a four-player experience. I don't know. We'll see. I know that it is heavily requested, but currently our focus is to polish the two-player experience. And as for single player, um, many of the things will be adjusted to make sure it's fair in single player. It's still manageable, um, but yeah, we also want the game to be doable in single player, however hard and however difficult the new mechanics that we add to the game will bring.
All right. And right here, this is sort of like the last community question. It's actually on behalf of the Indie Gamer Chick. Was, do you have any plans for accessibility features such as minimizing flashes for epileptic folks, things like that?
Yeah, so as you might imagine, I'm quite a fan of accessibility features because, you know, I'm in a wheelchair and all. So currently there's no accessibility feature in the game, but I really want to push to make sure we have something for everyone, make sure everyone can play our game. One thing that was requested though is the arachnophobia mode, where because we have some spiders in the first sector and some people don't like them, so maybe we will have a mode where they're switched to we switch their sprite to something else.
Spider crabs?
Yeah. I don't know
Give
if
them
you...
googly eyes?
Yeah, googly eyes, that would be quite funny. And in Satisfactory, there is an arachnophobia mode that just plainly paste a sprite of a cat on every spider to hide them. It's a big square with a cat face on every spider. That's quite funny. Maybe this could count as an accessibility feature for people who deal with arachnophobia, but we'll see.
All right, so just winding things down now from all of the mechanics and story and everything, just as a question about Ship Its Fools itself, but do you have a favorite memory of watching someone play your game?
Yeah. Actually, I have. It was quite funny. Last November, a couple weeks before launch, we were showcasing the game at an expo here in Quebec. This was called the Games and Toys Expo. In French, le Salon du Jeu et du Jouet. And as you might expect, there were a lot of young kids going around with their families in the expo, because there was a lot of board games and toys and things like that, and there was a section for video games made in Quebec. So we were there to with our game to make it try make people try our game. And there was these two brothers who came to try Shiba Fools. They were maybe like 6 and 9 years old. The 9 years old was getting pretty good, and he got the gist of the game. But his 6 years old brother, oh boy, uh, the only thing he cared about was slapping his brother with a paddle relentlessly, and he was screaming while poor Antoine was trying to explain them how to play the game. It was a pretty magical moment. Antoine couldn't do anything, and the 9-year-old brother could not play the game because his younger brother was just preventing him to do anything. And at least I think they had fun at some point. But it was quite fun to see that.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about Ship of Fools. I was sort of curious, are you as the studio currently fully working on this, or is there anything else you guys are working on as a side project, whether indie gaming related or otherwise?
Yes, so we are currently not the full team working on Ship of Fools. I am still working on it with a couple of other devs. But we are starting to look at what's next for Fika. We really want to work on Ship of Fools for as long as we can to bring a lot of content to the game for the community and make sure the game does well. But we're also looking at future games that we would like to work on. So we have many great ideas that are really in a totally different universe, totally different style.
So no Aquapocalypse.
Maybe the Aquapocalypse will come back in another game. I don't know, but for the moment, our focus is still Ship of Fools and trying to find new ideas for other games. So I can't disclose anything concretely right now, but this is where we're going as a studio. We really want to continue making great games that bring people together.
Fair enough. So now that we've gotten to this point of the interview, before we really wind things down, is there anything that you'd specifically like to share with the audience?
I really want to thank each and every one of you who have played our games, left a review, and gave us constructive criticism on the game. It really helps us to make it better, and we really want to continue working on it. So feel free to come talk to me on our Discord. It would be great to have you and have a conversation there. And there's great things that are coming.
Beyond that, I guess, since you're a fellow gamer and everything and big into it, is there any indie projects that you have had your eyes on or been following?
Yes, I want to quick shout out to our friends who are working on a game here in Quebec. It's Chasing Rat Studios, who are working on Worship, a new roguelike in a cultist kind of vibe. It's really cool. They had their Kickstarter going on, and they're making a real great success with that. So quick shout out to them. Great project. And that's pretty much it.
In which case, so first off, to the folks in the audience, you can buy /wishlist Ship of Fools on Steam. For news, there is Ship of Fools game at Twitter. Plus, they have a spiffy website that you can check out that apparently has been updated since 2018.
I hope it will I hope it will be up by the time this video comes up.
But yeah, FikaProductions.com. There's also ShipOfFoolsGame.com. I'm going to have links to all of these inside the description. Is there anywhere else you'd like me to send people?
Yeah, on our Discord, on our website, and maybe on our socials, such as our Twitter. We have our Fika Productions Twitter, and there's Shibafu's Twitter also. So that would be great.
Alrighty. But yeah, no. Just a big thank you, honestly, for going and giving me the time to badger you with all of these questions. Thank you for the answers.
Yeah, thanks, my friend. It was a really great pleasure to be on board with you with this interview, and thanks for reaching out. It's always great to talk with talk your passion with another passionate gamer.
Thank you. Yeah, no, this was a load of fun because like I really enjoyed my time in Ship of Fools, and so I was super curious, like just how much was on the way, and something like modular difficulty is really fun to me.
Yeah, thanks, man. Hope you had a great time with our game, and it's not over. I really wish Ship of Fools would continue with great content to come for many years to come. Expect great things coming for Ship of Fools in 2023.
Well, that's something for me to look forward to. But as for the rest of you folks watching, thanks for tuning in. If you agree, disagree, or even just have something that you'd like to say to me or leave a message for Daniel, feel free to comment. And if you have an interest in supporting my efforts to create new indie reviews, interviews such as these, and gaming content, hit the subscribe button and the bell so you know when there's a new release. There's also a Discord. There's links going to be to their Discord too, but also to my Discord, the Crit Hit Cauldron. And, you know, you can also catch me at my Twitch, just so you can watch me go through games live. That said, I'll catch y'all in the next episode of Crit Hit. Take care till then, folks.
Goodbye.